3, 2, 1. Good evening, fight fans. Should I just start doing that every time now? I'm 2 for 2. Okay. Probably not. I'm just gonna do it to piss you off now.
Good.
All right, guys. We are talking about UFC Fight Night 4 on ESPN. It was the July 20th, last Saturday.
Yeah.
Good fights.
Last set of fights, they were good.
They were good. One of the things I always worry about when you have a heavy card is some potentially long, boring fights. I don't think we got any of that.
Yeah.
Everything, right? Like,
yeah, definitely not.
We didn't get any slow-paced, boring fights.
I even forgot about Dan Hooker too. Like that.
Oh, it's a great fight. Yeah. I mean,
it was a quick knockout, but
it was, but like, it also wasn't that quick. You know, like Hooker had to kind of see what Vic was doing.
Was that the one where he feinted the right hand and almost went right and then went left and then threw that lead hook?
Let me think.
I'm pretty sure that's what it
was the lead hook.
Like feinted the right hand, and with that he almost like fell forward, like down onto it, and then he moved his head.
Yeah,
and threw the hook.
I can't remember the knockout. I can't remember it.
It was really good.
It was a good. I remember what I remember about the fight. You know, we'll get to Vic.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll say what I remember though. I remember Vic's footwork looking a little sluggish, and he wasn't. You know, I saw him square up a couple of times. Like his feet would be flat against Hooker. You know what I mean?
I think it was in the first round. Yeah,
it was in the first round. It wasn't a whole lot of time, but I remember some of Vic's footwork.
I mean, and Dan Hooker's gonna have,
Dan Hooker looked amazing.
Yeah. Well, he's good.
He was cutting great.
That was a good win for him.
It was a good win.
Excited to see where it goes from there.
So, but we'll just start. I think we're gonna do the main card.
Yeah, just the bottom of the main event.
One of the things we could talk about is Raquel Pennington versus Irene Aldana. Was also a really enjoyable fight to watch, but I don't know if you got to watch it.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I mean, Pennington got the decision
enough to fight Nunes. All right, well,
no.
That's the problem, man. Like, I'm not hating on the women fighters. But
I thought Aldana was like that person who could potentially make her way up to Nunes, but she was a little slow, not always first. I think she had better footwork. I think she has good skills. But she has some work to do. She needs to land harder strikes. Right. The strikes that she does land need to come through harder. I think she had an opportunity to knock Pennington out a couple of times. Right. Pennington moving around with her hands down, not necessarily dealing with leg kicks extremely well, not necessarily dealing with body kicks extremely well. And I think Aldana could have won the fight. Could have won the fight. I think
Pennington take her down, or
there was a couple of good. Yeah, I mean, and this was, I think the reason that Pennington won was on the final round of the ground game, and Pennington was on top, but I actually preferred Aldana's jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah, that's what you were saying. Like, she was almost working more deliberately from the bottom than Raquel was from the top.
I really felt like Aldana was more dominant in the grappling, but from the judges, and especially if they're boxing judges, they had no idea that Aldana was being dominant. I loved her leg lock potentials. Like, it has 0 submission attempts on here for Irene Aldana. She had the ankle in the armpit.
And was cranking on it?
Cranking.
Huh.
Oh, and the other submission she had, this was round 2, was she had her leg almost, I don't know this submission, but it was like triangled around the quad, and then she was pressing like the knee out by like pulling, she was using her legs to do this, but she was pulling Pennington's ankle in, and her leg was in like
a bicep slicer.
It's like a bicep slicer on the quad.
Yes. Or on the calf or on the quad?
It was in between. It was in the knee.
So on the hamstring.
So the knee was being pulled really, really hard.
With the figure 4 around the whole thing?
I couldn't.
With her legs?
Yeah, her legs were the ones doing the submission.
And her leg, she had one in between, and then one
in the crevice of the knee, and then one pressing down on the ankle.
Oh.
So it was like...
That's savage.
It was like pressing the knee like this. Dude, I mean...
That'd be like a calf slicer, I'd imagine. Unless it was slicing the hamstrings, and then which would be I don't know what it was, but...
I don't know what it was exactly, but it was a submission attempt for sure. But Pennington is a girl. She has really, really good flexibility, so it didn't necessarily get to her.
As we do this in the future, we definitely should look at what they have on the stats to see... Because who do the stats?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think... Like, this is UFC. This is just on Google, so I don't know who puts these stats in here.
Yeah.
If it's somebody from the UFC or if it's somebody
formatted.
else.
I think this is the UFC website, so I would imagine this is the UFC's doing. But it's almost formatted differently than what they even show after the fight, so I don't know. But anyway,
I could pull up like the actual UFC website and see if it says anything different. Maybe.
But they don't even have her attempting any submissions.
No submission attempts for Aldana, at least on this little just Google homepage for the UFC. Yeah. So either way, that was a good fight. Of course, there's not a lot of women fighters, so I always like to touch on their fights, especially if there was a good one. I thought it was I thought it was an enjoyable fight to watch. Yeah. I'm frustrated that Aldana lost because I think that she was the better fighter. However, she didn't put Pennington away. She didn't submit her. Yeah. And, unfortunately, I think Pennington's going to get fed to Nunes at some point, and I don't know how I don't know how well she's going to do,
And dude, it's so funny listening to people talk about Nunes and saying that, I'm not going to the problem is Nunes is, I think, a top-tier striker. Like, she is actually
I think she's
very
the GOAT.
high level.
I think she's the GOAT in women's.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much safe to say for me, but her striking is actually on a different level. And I believe she said that she's the female Conor McGregor at one point in time. She said that like at a press conference. I'm almost positive she said that. And I think what she was talking about is like really the precision in her hands, because against Cyborg, it looked like she just threw overhand rights, but like 3 of them landed right in a row. I mean, it was beautiful distance.
Yeah, we talked about this at practice.
Her distance control is like, I think, very high level. Like, I think on a different level than people even realize.
I think her power is on another level too. I mean, the way that she moves her shoulders and her arms, I think she's landing harder than most women
and she's
have.
not emotional. Like, she's really a killer. Like,
she's a real killer for sure.
I don't know. Jermaine Durandame would be someone I'd love to see. Yeah. Maybe those two could fight. Pennington
and Jermaine Durandame.
Jermaine Durandame fought at 145 though, but she's fought at 135 before. What was that last fight she just did? Was that at 135? Bantamweight. Yeah. So she was just down at 35. So she just fought Aspen Ladd. So
yeah,
that would be.
I think I'd like to see Durandame fight.
What about what was the other one's name? Not Pennington, but the other one.
Aldana. That's also bantamweight.
Yeah. So Aldana versus Jermaine Durandame.
Well, I mean, Pennington just won.
Yeah.
So if there was going to be a matchup,
I don't even know who's.
I have no idea.
I think they're ranked higher than because Aspen Ladd is maybe she's ranked. I don't know.
I'd like to see Irene Aldana fight Aspen Ladd. I'd like to see Pennington fight
How many
Jermaine
fights did Pennington
Durandame.
have? Pennington is
she has 17 fights, 7 losses, 10 wins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think anyone is necessarily ready for Nunes again yet. So I'd like to see a couple more bantamweight fights.
Henry Cejudo called Nunes out.
Dude, I would pay $1 million to watch that fight.
Just to do like a press conference that they are talking shit to each other.
I would love to watch them fight.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, unfortunately, I do think...
Dude, Nunes is bigger than Cejudo.
Dude, I'd love to watch them fight, man. But, for real, it would be so fun.
It's just...
Even if they had maybe slightly different rules or something.
It's not going to be even close.
You think?
Yeah.
Dude, I think Nunes could knock a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's true.
I wouldn't want to fight her. And I'm 40 pounds more than her. She would kill me.
I would not want to fight.
She would murder me.
Yeah.
I think she could murder Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
The first double gender champion. Dude, if she fought Henry Cejudo and won, it would be one of the most brutal shits of the entire planet.
I think, honestly, like, I don't think there's even a close...
If they allowed it to happen, I would want to see it. If they allowed it to happen, I would...
I don't think they will.
Nunes... Dude, look how big Cyborg was.
She's a killer.
Look how big Cyborg was.
I know. I'm not taking away from that.
I'm just saying.
I think some people might hear that and be like, dude, no way is she even going to be... But I saw them, like, stacked up together, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Nunes looks like a beast. Like,
dude, Nunes...
If I was Henry Cejudo, I would not want to fight Amanda Nunes. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he called her out, first of all, that's just pure respect to Amanda Nunes.
For sure.
Because you can't just do that to anyone. And, hopefully...
It's showing that he thinks she's a level competition above women.
Exactly.
Which is,
true.
She hits women kind of like a man would hit women. Dude, she knocked out Cyborg, the most dominant woman of all time.
And then Holly Holm with the head kick, dude. See, and this is my point about Amanda Nunes. Like, it's the right hand. No, like she's got a lot. The Cyborg fight was the leg kick, in my opinion. That leg kick changed the momentum of Cyborg's pressure immediately. She started backing up, and that's when the right hand started finding a home, when Cyborg was on her heels. But it was the leg kick that sent her into that backup. And it was a good technical, it was well executed, well
executed game plan. And the power, like I've rarely seen women throw overhand rights 3 times in a row with a type of power that cowers their opponent. Like, most of the time when you watch women hit each other, it's like there is good power there and you see the pain. But, dude, I've seen women go full 5 rounds just getting bloody because they're hitting each, like they're just hitting each other back and forth, back and forth.
And that's why women's fights are kind of fun, in my opinion, because they don't really have the power to knock each other out, but
it happens, and it's happening more and more as you're seeing really amazing strikers like come to the top. But and
that's why
isn't very likely to find women like that.
Like Arabella, my daughter, when she starts training, I'm just gonna turn her into a Khabib.
And have her wrestle.
Just maul people.
Dude, you got to be careful about teaching your child to wrestle now, because we have seen 2 wrestlers. We'll get to Alexei.
It's true.
We've seen 2 wrestlers get kneed in the face.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. All right, so let's start at Andrei Arlovski, because he had an amazing
We already
fight.
started on the prelims.
Okay, well, yeah. So prelims are over.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a ton of the other prelims at the beginning, but other than that,
anyway,
I didn't
Andrei
see
Arlovski
anything that I loved.
Versus Ben Rothwell. We need to go back and listen to our video we did on the pre-fight, because I don't even really remember what I said. Have you listened to it recently?
I didn't listen to it again, but we both, I believe, believed that Andrei Arlovski was going to win the fight.
I think Arlovski has just looked really good, and this was the first fight where it actually was like, oh my god, he figured it out.
Totally.
And the only thing he has to work on now is you can't fight like that when you're a heavyweight. And he needs to work on timing and patience, because you can't just be a Muay Thai kickboxer at heavyweight. I mean, he moved for 3 rounds straight. 272 total strikes thrown.
Like I said,
160 of them landed, I think, is what that means, and 152 of significant strikes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, listen, I think that Arlovski looked like a lightweight.
Yeah.
He looked like a lightweight with the number of strikes he was throwing for 3 rounds straight,
well,
dude.
the 3rd round, he slowed down.
I expected, for sure. He could have maybe spent a little bit.
He almost got put away in the 3rd round,
sure.
And I really did not like that about his performance. Like Ben Rothwell hurt him in the last round.
Definitely shouldn't, and he shouldn't have been able to. I agree with that.
It's like, dude, once you have the fight won, all right, then you have to implement some sort of safety defense. And if you're gonna play defensively, you have to be safe about it, and you have to keep your head moving. And he kind of just, Ben Rothwell wasn't exactly exploding forward. He would just take a couple of steps forward with the right hand, throw it a couple of times, and Ben Rothwell wasn't really even piecing that many combinations together.
I'm trying to remember what. I think it was a right hand and then an uppercut.
Against the cage, yeah.
Up against the cage.
Well, it was, he had he had taken like 2 steps forward.
And Arlovsky was taking a little bit of a break right then and there, you know, and he put his head down.
And I instantly saw it turn, and I was like, dude, you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah,
like,
we both said it at the same time. So, you know, but he didn't.
Yep.
So that's important to know.
Cool.
He didn't get it. He didn't get into danger until the 3rd round when Rothwell was tired.
With how he performed on those first 2 rounds, there's like if he can do that for 3 rounds or for 5 rounds,
but there's some energy saving and potentially that he could do that would make his 3rd, 4th, and 5th round potential stronger.
Start a little slower,
just a tiny bit. But listen, dude, he had the potential to knock out Rothwell. Rothwell has a chin. He's a big boy, you know, like he took some massive damage.
Yeah. The weight differential is really huge.
That makes a difference.
And Arlovsky, you know, didn't mean a thing. So.
I think
super happy.
This is something I'd love to see. And Andrea Arlovsky could potentially lose some weight and fight at light heavy. You know, I think he has some weight that he could potentially lose. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look actually at his stats.
He's pretty huge.
He's huge, but if he fought at light heavy, lost some weight, could handle the weight loss like healthy. I'm not talking like not cut down to light heavyweight.
Dude,
he would probably.
That would honestly not be a bad idea if he could make the weight.
With the type of stamina that he showed us, if he could make it to light heavyweight, and I'm not saying he can or can't, but if he could, he would potentially be one of the most dominating light heavyweights of all time.
His style against John Jones,
for sure.
I would love to see that matchup.
Oh man, that would be an amazing matchup.
Because he just walked forward the whole night, but John Jones, you can't. I mean, there's levels, and but I'd love to see
Arlovsky fight DC,
and maybe
I think at heavyweight potentially
that'd be a great fight.
It would be a great fight to watch. But Arlovsky has to be really DC is good at striking, amazing, much better grappler than Ben Rothwell.
For sure better than Ben Rothwell. But Andrei Arlovsky, I think
he's got his grappling too, for sure.
He's a seasoned veteran. He's ready to fight. I'd love to see him get a couple of wins and go for a belt because he's just a warrior and one of my favorite fighters, really.
He looked amazing.
I've seen him lose like 3 times now, and it's just like annoying, because I really like his nose. I just want to see that nose win.
Yeah. Dude, I think he broke Rothwell's nose during the fight. Sure. His face was real messed up.
Overall, probably one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen in a long while.
Yeah, it was an amazing
If you saw that fight and thought it was boring, you're an idiot. Like,
dude, there was booing. There was booing in the crowd for that fight. Yeah. If you're a fan of the UFC and you're watching literally one of the most active heavyweight fights of all time and you're booing, please don't come. Please don't come. Like, we don't need. I hate hearing the booing in the crowd when I'm watching.
And the woos and all this bullshit. It's like, I'm sorry, that is beyond disrespectful. And if you knew what you were watching, you wouldn't even be tempted to be distracting or boo. Because if you're watching, you see the output of these fighters that are really fighting for their life is full output.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
And you're so bored that you're wooing and booing. It's like, dude, go home.
Right.
Like, if you want to woo and boo at something, watch hockey. Like, I don't really know what people are doing. It's super frustrating, and so, that's something we talked about. It's something we wanted to bring up on the podcast, and it's something we're going to continue talking about because, like, these guys just don't deserve that. Like, they clinched for what? 2 minutes total throughout their entire fight.
And they were booing. Like, just booing.
Like, give me a break.
Nuts.
Give me a break.
And they want them to move. That's what they want. But it's just...
Okay, but let's move up to the next fight because this is a perfect, segue. If you wanted to boo during a fight, potentially, I mean...
Yeah, Alexander Hernandez versus Francisco Trinaldo really wasn't...
I didn't see either of them take any risks. Now, it was a chess match for sure, and I'm not going to take that away from either of the fighters.
But here's the problem. Alexander Hernandez is thinking a lot more about his style and his brand and his technique than he is thinking about hurting Francisco Trinaldo.
I could see that.
And he has a really cool style, and it is very awkward, but every time he threw a punch, it was a short punch, and it wasn't even... It was
out of range.
When he was in range, he would throw a short punch, and he would throw constantly when he was out of range. And he would fully rotate and send his fist, but he was out of range, and he did that multiple times. And that fucking head teep front kick thing that he was throwing, I loved that.
He caught
Francisco Trinaldo good with that a couple of times,
But overall,
and I'd say that was the most significant strike of the fight. One of the up kicks, because it caught him so
they
clean.
have this at 25 and 25 for significant strikes. In my opinion, I didn't see that many significant strikes. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 per round, literally. They very rarely connected with each other.
And this is another thing we talked about. You know, Francisco Trinaldo. What I said at the end of this fight is Alexander Hernandez didn't move Francisco Trinaldo in any way.
He didn't force him back. He didn't make him chase.
And what I mean by that is change the direction of your opponent. And when you can change the direction of your opponent, you're in control.
Yeah.
And Francisco Trinaldo was controlling the direction of the fight the whole time.
I 100% agree with that.
Even when Alexander Hernandez blasted in for a takedown and Francisco Trinaldo just straight up dropped and like ape man chest bumped him and caught him in the middle and said nope and was a brick fucking wall, that shut Alexander Hernandez down. I guarantee you Alexander Hernandez thought he lost that fight.
For sure.
Guarantee you.
I saw it on his face when the call was made.
He was beat because he got beat in that fight.
I agree.
Never moved.
He psychologically was not in my opinion, the dominator of that fight. Now, that doesn't take away necessarily from what he dealt with. I think Francisco Trinaldo brought his A game. I think that there was
Francisco Trinaldo at 40 years old. Holy fuck.
He looks good. And I think that the counter-striking, and this was the problem, they were counter-striking each other.
Here's where the levels are, though. Think about how Cowboy did against Alexander Hernandez. And I'd almost say Alexander Hernandez looked better in his fight against Cowboy than he did against Francisco Trinaldo.
100% I would agree with that. I think if Hernandez would have brought his fight that he had with Cowboy to this fight, it could have potentially been ended in the first round. But what's happened? Hernandez is scared now. But there's loss of confidence, and
I wouldn't say scared. He definitely came out like a warrior, but the thing is
he didn't come out the same way he has before.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
I haven't watched many of his fights before Cowboy, so I don't really remember. But I know I've seen a couple of them. I just can't remember what he's looked like coming out of his fights. But I know he's just got to essentially put a target on hurting the opponent.
Yeah,
and
a real target on doing that.
The only thing that I think he needs to change. He's fully athletic enough. He's strong enough. His striking is clean enough. His footwork is really, really, really tricky. He can blast in very fast for doubles and for wrestling and all that stuff. So he's got all the moves. He's got to start feinting those takedowns early. And he didn't really implement any takedowns. And Francisco Trinaldo, I don't think he even went for takedowns. I think he went for maybe a couple, and Francisco Trinaldo just stuffed him. Except there was that big one.
It has one here, a takedown, and he was 0 for 1.
So and he should have been trying to take that fight somewhere else. But then again, he's fighting a Brazilian. May not want to go to the ground with him.
Potentially. And listen, this was the problem. Is his strikes were a little short, sloppy, a little short.
Well, they were clean. They were just
he
not
wasn't necessarily
hitting the target.
accurate. He was not accurate.
That's the problem.
I don't know exactly what the reason was, but I will say is every time one of them began the exchange, they'd get caught coming in. And I think that's why it was such a slow fight, is because the counter-striking was beautiful, and neither of them could get in without getting really, really hit clean. But at some point, you have to bite down on the mouth guard, move your head, cut an angle, and start hitting. You need to build that momentum.
Right. And, and this is the thing. When you're fighting someone who's trying to counter you, the only chance you have is overwhelming them and pushing forward.
Especially if they're landing their counters.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to counter them after they're countering you, and you're just playing this really silly counter game where no one's advancing, and then what you're doing is giving your opponent confidence because you're afraid to push in.
Exactly.
And all you have to do to someone like that is put the pressure on them, and then they fold.
That punch didn't hurt.
Right.
That punch didn't hurt.
Right.
That kick didn't hurt. That punch doesn't hurt. And eventually, they'll not know what.
Check a kick, really good, maybe really solid elbow defense, push in, clinch. Like, you have to disrupt their flow with forward-moving pressure.
Yep.
And they will lose their strategy immediately and not know what to do once their countering isn't working anymore. Except hopefully they have an arsenal of counters when the fight progresses into clinch and into wrestling grappling and into jiu-jitsu as well. But, you know, it's just, you can beat someone who's countering you because they're a pussy. You just have to fucking make them feel like it, you know?
Yeah.
You have to just make them feel like they're, like...
You know, one of the best fights we've ever watched was, who was it? Just walking forward. I'm trying to remember both their names right now.
Kyle, Justin Gaethje. Kyle Bochniak.
Kyle Bochniak versus who was it?
Zabit.
Zabit. Dude, that fight. It's like, dude, there's a piece of me that still believes Kyle won that fight because of how badass he was.
Dude, Kyle Bochniak, you're easily my favorite fighter now.
You're such a winner.
I always look forward to watching you fight. Win, lose, doesn't matter. He's a thug, dude. And he's also like, he moves forward. He's just doesn't give a shit, but he also has
I wouldn't say he doesn't give a shit. Like, he doesn't get... he wasn't getting hit so hard that he was getting knocked out.
He won his last fight, right?
I don't know who he fought last.
He fought again. I'm pretty sure... I hoped he won. I don't know if he won. I'm pretty sure he fought after Zabit.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure. Maybe not.
Why would I have missed that?
I wouldn't have.
Let's see. We're going to pull up Kyle Bochniak really quick.
When was your last fight? It was a loss. Hakeem Dawodu.
To another decision.
Split decision.
That sucks.
But win, lose, doesn't matter.
I agree.
Bochniak,
dude, I love Kyle Bochniak.
I will. Dude, you could put him on a main event fight night. I think he does
He's a fight of the nighter for sure.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
for sure.
He's just such a hard guy. Listen.
Hey, he was on a 1,
Alexander
2,
Hernandez
3, 4, 5, 6 win streak, got a loss, win, and now he's on a 2-loss win streak. And one of them was Zabit Magomedsharipov, and Kyle Bochniak looked way more dominant at the end of that fight.
I would agree.
Than Zabit did.
I think with another round, like Kyle might have been overwhelming that.
Exactly.
I mean,
and this is what you have to think about it from the perspective of that should have been a 5-round fight, which I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't. No way. It ended
rounds 3
really soon.
yeah so there you go. Like, it's if that was a 5-round fight, that's you're getting a different decision.
I agree,
because 3, 4, and 5, you know, but Zabit fight differently in a 5-round fight. You know, it'd be a good fight.
It would be a good
I think
fight.
Kyle Bochniak would have an advantage with his fucking athleticism.
For sure.
He needs to get those 5-round fights because he's gonna win them. You know, and hopefully, you know, I'd love to see what he looks like at 5 rounds. But
I agree.
He's a tank.
He is a tank.
And
I think if Hernandez brings some of that game, you have someone
what
with...
What weight is Kyle Bochniak? 145. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 145. But I'm just saying, if Hernandez brings potentially that type of intensity and mentality, he's going to be an unstoppable force, you know.
Because he's maybe even more technically skilled than Bochniak.
Potentially.
I mean,
I've seen Bochniak
has
do some
no
amazing
excuse
stuff.
not to be. I'm pretty sure Alexander Hernandez has been training since he was like 4.
Damn.
And I honestly love when fighters like that get beat.
Because it gives you some hope.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because it does. Because I'm going to be, you know, if I fight, I'm going to be fighting kids that have been fighting since they were
forever.
10.
I agree.
You know, I'm not, especially when you're getting into MMA, you know, it's like, especially
high level competition
at this generation.
Yes.
It's like, but you just got to be a thug. See, and this is what people don't understand about fighting. It's not, it doesn't matter what the advantages you have are, there's always the will to win. And the underdog can always win.
We see it all the time.
And it doesn't matter who you think you are. Like, and that's what makes fighters like John Jones so spectacular that don't lose, right? Because they don't lose. And that is so unlikely in the fight game because you could come up against anything stylistically. You could have a bad camp. You could be injured. There's so many factors in a fight. Literally, you could come out and 3 seconds later get flying kneed to your face and get stopped immediately. Like, fights can go any way, anytime. And if your opponent is tricky enough, they could have every disadvantage in the book, but if they've got a mental trickster to them, they can beat you with mental fortitude and trickiness. Trickiness is one of the least and overhyped talk about virtue of fighters, and I love tricky fighters. That's my favorite thing about fighting, is when a fighter can be tricky, set traps, and actually capitalize on them.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Let's move on to Dan Hooker versus James Vick.
One of those guys, Dan Hooker, that can set traps and literally, and he did do that, man. And that fight, that was one of the most beautiful knockouts I've ever seen. And I hate watching fighters get knocked out. Like, honestly, my heart sinks every time. And
every time you see
even James Vick. And I honestly wanted him to get knocked out. When I saw Justin Gaethje knock him out, I did feel bad again, but at the same time, that he talked so much shit leading up to that fight, and Justin Gaethje is probably one of my favorite fighters of all time, so that was just a great knockout. And but to see it happen again, you never want to see that happen to a fighter like James Vick, because he does have so much potential, but for some reason I think with the weight class that he's chosen to be at, I think he doesn't have the strength.
Maybe. But he looked bigger than Hooker.
Yeah, but his neck. And see, neck strength is your chin, right? And that's and when you want to train your chin, you train neck strength. You strengthen your neck. And that's how you train your chin. And that's just, everyone knows that, and I think with how strong his neck is, his head can just get turned, like, over with a punch. Any punch can just turn.
And that's what it looked like. I mean, when they showed it back, like his neck moved.
When shots turn you, I think that's when they have more of a capability.
Was there good body work from Hooker before?
Yeah, he hit a couple of body shots.
He hit a couple of body shots, right? A kick or two.
Yeah, his kicks. I can't remember.
I can't remember, and I wish I could remember that fight.
I think
a little bit more.
I'm pretty sure he was throwing a teep. That was actually really dangerous and hard looking, but I can't remember.
I don't remember seeing a teep.
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
Something, but either way, the final punch that landed, I do remember that one, and it was one that turned James Vick's neck.
He feinted the right hand, dipped to the left, and then just threw a lead hook, and it just went right, buttoned him on the chin.
Yeah.
It was such a well-executed
It was a well-executed
punch.
I think James Vick has a lot of potential. We talked about this after his fight.
I heard a lot of people saying they'd like to see what he can do at 170, and if he put on some weight.
I could see that as well. He's
even
potentially
big
the
for
right
a 170-er.
size. He's another one perfect
165
fighter
pound
for 165
candidate.
count.
James Vick at 165.
Yeah, he could potentially.
If you give James Vick 165 and he can build some neck muscle, you better believe that dude will be a killer with a chin.
I agree.
And good luck to you, and that's just. But at 155, he's gotten handled by a couple of strikers that
having to cut too much.
Yeah,
he might be having to cut too much.
It's never come up that it's been a hard cut, but how
many fighters talk about their cuts?
Not many.
He makes weight, so he's not going to be talking about it was a really hard cut. Nobody wants to do that. So potentially, who knows? Like, it would be awesome to have James Vick here to be like, listen, it's not the cut, it's this, this, and this. These are my issues. I'd love to have a conversation with him. I saw some flat-footedness from him. I didn't see a lot of in and out. He wasn't countering, in a really effective way. So that's where the loss was. Like Dan Hooker implemented his strategy, did really, really well, connected on the punches, and won the fight.
I'm pretty sure James Vick was the one walking forward for the bit of that round.
I can't even remember. I wish we could pull up some fights.
I don't remember thinking James Vick just got completely outclassed.
I didn't think so either.
But at the same time, Dan Hooker did pretty much completely outclass him, because that knockout speaks for itself, and that was a perfectly executed knockout. That is coming from the degrees you have to be black belt wise to throw and execute a punch like that. Like, he's on a level for sure.
I agree.
And with the people he trains with, it's no wonder, So.
But listen, James Vick, you're only 13-4, man. Like, Dan Hooker's lost 8 fights. Like, let's go. Get back into the gym, work, get your movement speed up. Potentially think about fighting at 170. Who knows?
Or 165,
let's get a 165 pound weight class.
I hope Nate Diaz and Anthony Pettis come out at 165 for their 170 pound their welterweight.
If the fighters started doing that would be amazing. Like, if they just started texting each other, being like, "Yo, we got to do 165. Let's hit 165, 165, 165," and then all the fighters who shouldn't be fighting at 170 fight at 165. Dude, you'll create a weight class, and I don't know why Dana White has an issue with this.
Are perfectly happy with the 165. Well, the thing is
175.
And here's where the problem comes in. Then you have to get rid of 170.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, yeah,
but who
cares?
165, 170, and 175.
No,
you need 165.
We know there are 175 fighters.
Yeah.
We know they're there,
yeah.
And we know there are 165 fighters. I don't think who is the champion of 170 right now?
Usman.
Usman is a 175 fighter.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz loses to Usman potentially, but
I think he likes 170, and that's like a lot of those guys like 170. They don't want to change it.
That's because they can take advantage of the people who are smaller than them and can't make 155.
Yeah, exactly. They can just be bullies. Yeah,
RDA.
You're totally, exactly 100% right. It's total bullshit to be a welterweight because you're fighting people that you're 15 pounds heavier than, no matter what. Like, and that doesn't really make sense, but it does make sense because the weight class is so big that there's a bigger pool of people that are somewhere in between.
155.
Yeah, well, that's where the majority of his career has been.
A lot of the smaller fighters who
make 55, they're not big enough to do 170.
Exactly, but then they can't keep cutting.
It's a huge problem with the welterweight division.
I agree.
The one thing that fixes it is 165, 175. There's no gap there anymore, and now you can have the fighters take their places as they
165 light welterweight, 175 welterweight.
Yeah. MMA.
Stop.
Weight.
Yeah. Stop.
Yeah,
stop.
perfect.
Stop doing the 170 thing. It's pissing me off. Okay.
Sure. I agree.
Let's move on. So we had Greg Hardy and Adams. This was a fast fight.
Yeah.
45 seconds.
Yeah, wasn't surprised.
What, third fastest in the heavyweight?
Do you remember what we called for this fight? Probably Greg Hardy, I'd imagine.
You actually, no, I listened to you.
I said
you
Juan
did
Adams.
say Juan Adams. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's just because, 5 of the fights that he's won have been by knockout, so I thought it might be someone who could actually outstrike Greg Hardy, but boy, was I wrong. Yeah.
Greg Hardy's got hands. He's got hands.
I don't think he really has hands, necessarily.
He's got hands.
All he did was throw this punch like 80 times in 30 seconds, which was actually pretty.
Did he start with a couple of leg kicks and stuff like that, too?
I don't remember.
He threw a kick, I think.
That was first round? Yeah.
It was first round. I was so fast. I can barely remember it. All I can remember from the fight is Adams, face down to the mat, getting hit in the side of the head 40 times.
Deep on a single.
Yeah. And that was such a weird thing, too. Why was he holding on to the leg?
Because well, first of all, this is what happened. I remember it perfectly. He took the shot and he fell on his right hip. So he was the leg is your lifeline when you take that shot. You don't abandon the leg after you've taken a shot. But he fucked up because he fell on his right hip, and what that did was he had to. Then he started getting punched in the face,
and it was immediate.
And
Hardy took advantage.
And he
quickly.
He had to get his hips underneath him, which happened like probably 20 seconds after like taking punches already. Maybe not that.
It wasn't that long,
but like 5 seconds. To switch his hips, to engage with the knee properly, and then he had it, and then that's when he started eating like 80 punches, hooks straight to his temple, and I think he was kind of just bearing down and taking it, and then he was like getting ready to explode, but that was Herb Dean, right?
I can't remember who stopped it.
Whoever was the ref.
I don't think it was Herb Dean.
He did say, I need to see you move, or you move or something, and he didn't move, and then he stopped the fight. And it was a good stoppage. Juan Adams' face was jacked up after that fight. It would not surprise me if he even had a broken bone in his orbital or anything like that.
But the side of his head, like, listen, Juan. We don't want to watch you die in the ring because you're getting hit, and we're waiting for you to explode off the ground.
And you ate him good, and I don't even think he put you out. But
no, he didn't. Listen,
that many shots.
You're a brutal guy. Like, you took big shots from Greg Hardy and didn't get knocked out. You didn't hit the mat. And so be proud of yourself and be a winner. Don't
Greg Hardy
get that in this situation
gets a lot of hate from the MMA community constantly because of his past, and I just think that's not it sounds messed up, but I think as Americans, like, our system of jail and all that is built off of that people can serve their time and then
come back
and recover and become a better person. And listen, if you lose faith in humanity that they're not able to change and grow from past experiences, then you're what's wrong with people. You need to believe that people have within them the ability to make changes and to grow.
I agree.
Because you have to make mistakes before you can actually really realize the depth of what the mistake is. And I think that's the case for a lot of domestic incidences between men and women. I don't think men understand their what they're capable of, and I think they have to witness it before they actually recognize that there's a monster inside of them that every man has inside of them. And while I've never hit a woman, and I don't plan on it, and I don't think I ever will get myself to the point where that can happen, I'm, in some sense, and I'll even say it, privileged to the fact that I had a good upbringing and I have control over my emotions, and I work very hard to self-develop all the time. That's like my main thing that's always in my head. I'm working to be better, right? And I lost my fucking train of thought. But
no, I mean, I think we shouldn't spend too much time on it, but at the same time,
everyone has it within them to be very bad and to fuck up and to really make huge mistakes. And I think Greg Hardy is a stand-up character from what he sounds like on the mic. You know, just when he talks, he seems pretty respectable. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt at this point. And he's done a good job. And he has a name, and you know, people are upset that he's getting marketed and all this shit. But it's just like, you know, listen, if you're one of the people who are talking about the prison population in the United States being, you know, a massive mistake, then you should be part of the people who are saying Greg Hardy can change and grow up, and he doesn't need to sit in jail for the rest of his life and is beyond fixing.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. That's just my political section of the day.
Political time with Blake. All right. So the next one was Alexei Olenek versus Walt Harris.
Another really good fight.
Walt
that was
Harris,
a quick one.
I don't know if it's a good fight. Walt Harris showed us again that, you know, if you're a grappler in the MMA, you need to be real careful of the knees for the next few months. Yep. You need to be real careful because they're getting thrown.
It's forever. Now it's not the next couple of months. MMA has changed forever because of Jorge Masvidal's knee to Ben Askren's face.
Yeah, and I didn't realize what a big deal it was until now.
Throwing it.
Until now, you see Alexei Olenek, one of the best grapplers in MMA forever, like undeniably, kneed in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Kneed in 12 seconds, and.
Yep.
He took.
I don't know if it was in 12
didn't,
seconds. Because I think that's with 12 seconds left. So that's at the end of the round. I think they...
Was it?
Did they have a full round? Oh, no, that might be...
No, I might be wrong.
So. It was at 12 seconds? It was just that quick?
Dude, it was fast. It was the knee to the armpit, and then he got hit.
I remember it perfectly. It totally starched him, but it hit under his armpit.
The knee was real awkward, and then probably knocked the air out of him. It was a real nasty, perfectly placed knee. So, listen, if you're a grappler in MMA, hide your takedowns. Don't change. Don't get kneed.
Strike first, takedown later.
And man, it's like this is one of the things we talk about with Matt. You know, like when jiu-jitsu first came into MMA, people didn't know how to deal with it necessarily yet.
Right.
But we're seeing striking make a comeback. You're seeing good quality striking.
And you best believe Poirier is practicing some flying
knees.
Fucking knees.
Dude, Khabib could get kneed, man.
And Khabib kind of, I've always thought of his takedowns as kind of slow, but it's also just his style.
It's his style. Dude, he grabs hard. Yeah. He grabs real hard.
But he's usually got you up against the cage, too, so that's where you're
kind of intelligent about where he's intelligent about where he initiates his takedowns. But
if he gets desperate, if you start hitting
him
his
a couple
head,
of times,
get him
throw the knee.
Yeah, and Dustin Poirier's got the power.
He does.
Just hurt Khabib a little bit on the feet. He's going to start stressing out, getting ready to go for a takedown.
I know.
And you see it coming, and then you just throw that knee, and guess what?
Be ready. I know it.
Khabib ain't going to walk through that, dude. No. And especially from Poirier. And I'm pretty sure Poirier caught Justin Gaethje with a flying knee to the face.
This is a good question. What fight?
Maybe not. I know Eddie Alvarez did, but
who was getting caught? There was a fight this weekend where someone was getting caught. They were throwing the flying knee. It might have been in the prelims. But there was a fight where the flying knee was getting thrown real hard, and
it was the main event, Rafael dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards, because I'm pretty sure.
And Rafael just missed the knee and then took down Leon Edwards. Is that what that was?
I remember that happened. I don't know if that was
that fight. Wow, I can't remember now.
Yeah, but someone threw a flying knee and then
two flying knees. Yeah. I think it was RDA versus Leon Edwards.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's so funny.
That would make sense because Leon Edwards would throw them. But but I can't remember.
Okay, but either way, whoever did that in their fight, which I think it actually might be the main event.
There's always rock, paper, scissors. There's always something to come and counter.
You can take advantage of a flying knee real effectively and get an amazing takedown off of it if you don't get hit in the head. So,
which brings us to our main event, Rafael dos Anjos versus Leon Edwards. It was a really great fight. I thought Leon Edwards looked really good, very dominant,
super healthy. I think RDA looked good too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think RDA.
I really wanted RDA to win that fight too.
The elbows were
so
nasty.
Yeah, and that's where he won the fight, was with that elbow, and it really just changed the direction of the fight for Rafael dos Anjos, especially after he got cut open,
I didn't see RDA effective necessarily in the clinch. Maybe a couple of decent knees, but not super effective there, and they were there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Leon's big.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards is big.
And
this is one of those situations where RDA is potentially a 165er and Leon Edwards is potentially a 175er.
Yeah.
I don't know if Leon can make 165.
It's kind of a mismatch almost in
potentially,
weight, because
I think Leon looked bigger and more dominant during the grappling exchanges simply because of his size and his length.
Yeah.
He was longer, his kicks were strong, his elbows were beautiful, his timing was amazing. So don't take anything away from Leon Edwards from this one, because he pulled out all the stops on this one. The takedown at the beginning of the fight.
So this is the problem now with the welterweight division, is I'm pretty sure Jorge Masvidal wants a title shot, and he thinks he's deserved it because Dana told him that he'd get it if he flatlined Ben Askren, and he did. So he thinks he deserves a title shot. Leon Edwards believes he deserves a title shot. And I don't necessarily, I don't think Leon Edwards won the fight in a way
dominantly.
I think
not like Masvidal.
I'd rather see Jorge Masvidal fight Usman.
Agreed. I think Leon Edwards is an amazing prospect, but let's have Leon fight.
Edwards is ranked. He's definitely ranked.
What about what's the other Tyron? Leon Edwards fight Tyron Woodley. Let's see that. That would be an amazing fight. It would be good for Leon Edwards, and then we can see. Then we can see if he deserves to make it up to Usman.
That's actually another fight that a lot of people were asking for after this fight was Edwards versus Woodley.
That'd be a great fight. That'd be a great fight. And honestly, in the meantime, Masvidal can go fight Usman.
That's a very favorable matchup to Woodley because Woodley's
I think Edwards looked good. I think he has all of the skills he needs.
He didn't put RDA away, and if you can't put RDA away, you think you're gonna put Tyron Woodley away? I don't know.
Well,
RDA's a thug. He's one of my favorite fighters.
I think if Leon Edwards gets clinched up against Tyron Woodley for longer, there might be more elbows his way than he was able to get off on Rafael dos Anjos. So there's a potential that he could be stronger against Woodley because of his close game.
Woodley is so strong and dominant in the clinch. I don't think anyone's going to handle him very well.
I don't know, man. It'd be a good fight.
It'd be a good fight.
I'd be super interested in watching that one.
Yeah,
so
it would be a good fight.
All right, what are we at?
That's all of them.
That's 47 minutes, so about perfect timing.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the fights. I think it was a great fight night, especially for heavyweight.
Stoppages and finishes.
Yeah.
It was a good night of fights. Honestly, I think
I didn't see any early stoppages. I mean, I know that Adams was pissed off about his stoppage, but other than that, it was a beautiful night of fights. Really, really good competition.
Yeah.
I mean, it started off with
great finishes.
With Arlovsky. Beautiful finishes when they happened, and a little bit of blood on the face of a couple people. So it's a good night of fights.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone just the level
of competition is really getting
apparent.
higher. I was just thinking about that this morning. Is like the level of competition from the first time that I was watching fight nights. Seems to have definitely increased. I mean, you're seeing some real killers going after each other. And this isn't even a pay-per-view level event. So,
right. Yeah, cool. So, all right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
See you guys next time. We'll be talking about what's coming up next.
240. Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar.
And is that
Chris Cyborg versus Spencer.
Damn, that's this weekend. So,
yep.
I guess we should make that video at some point, too.
Yep, for sure. All right. Take it easy. Bye.